Yakov Smirnoff is a Russian comedian who came to the United States to escape the tyranny of the communist regime he grew up in. And he wasn't prepared for all the wonderful things that we have in America. On my first shopping trip, he said, I saw powdered milk. You just add water and you get milk. Then I saw powdered orange juice. You just add water and you get orange juice. And then I saw baby powder. And I thought to myself, what a country. You know, our culture is obsessed with the idea of instant gratification and easy work. And I'm as guilty as the next person. You know, if I stand in line for more than a couple minutes at a fast food restaurant, I get angry. You know, we want everything and we want it now. Many young people today fall into debt because of easy credit and layaway plans that allow them to have nice cars, nice clothes, a nice home before they've been in the workforce very long, and way before they have the money to actually afford those luxuries. Unfortunately, we have believed the ad about an easy button, and we've applied it to the church as well. We want a simple salvation with cheap grace, and we want to get it within an hour and not have it affect how we live the rest of our lives. Sometimes the church even pushes false advertising in order to recruit members. We paint a rosy picture of peace, love, and happiness that is seldom achieved in this world. And we hint that once you believe everything, that everything will be okay, that everything will work out. You know, the Bible never says that. Now, don't misunderstand me. Finding God is easy, and He will be with us. Jesus said, seek and you will find. But once you find Him, you need to understand that there is still a price to pay. And Jesus never hides that truth from us. Now, Jesus can never be accused of using the old bait and switch technique to evangelize. If you're not familiar with that phrase, understand that it's an approach to sales that's not completely honest. We used a form of it when I sold Lazy Boy chairs. The ad would proclaim $99 recliners, but we would only have a few of that particular recliner on the floor. And in addition, it was the cheapest model we had with the cheapest fabric. In a word, they were ugly chairs. But the owner, well, in addition to that, the owner would not give us a commission if we sold that chair, because he said that he sold it by running the ad in the first place. Our job, he told us, was to get them to buy a more expensive chair. So whenever a customer came in and wanted to see the $99 chair, we'd show it to them, then we'd lead them to another model. If the customer refused to consider a more expensive chair, we would push what's called fabric coat for only $25 to protect the chair from stains and spittles. And the owner would give us a little bit of commission on that. Well, chances are the customer that came in would buy something. You see, where we were located was off the beaten path. So if they came there, they really wanted to buy a chair. But if they got pushed into a higher chair, they may buy it, but they wouldn't be as happy because they did not know how the game was being played. Jesus is always very clear about what it means to follow Him. The last part of Matthew chapter 8 addresses the price that we must pay to follow Jesus. Matthew records this not to scare us off, but in order for us to have our eyes wide open when we come to Him. You see, the Bible never hides what it means to follow Jesus. When we consider following Jesus, we must always ask the question, what will it cost? What will it cost? What will it cost to follow Jesus? Part of the cost is is submission. Submission. And that may be one of the hardest things of all, because none of us want to submit to anything. Follow along as I read Matthew chapter 8, verses 18 through 22. Matthew chapter 8, beginning of verse 18. When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other side of the lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me, and let the dead bury their own dead." These words are not the way that you close a sale. In fact, Jesus seems to be doing the exact opposite of what we try to do when new people come to church. The crowd that heard Jesus preach the Sermon on the Mount followed him as he came down the mountain and headed towards Capernaum. And as they witnessed the miracles he performed, more and more people gathered around him. But then the very next day, after leaving Peter's mother-in-law's house, the mass of people was so great that the only way to leave was to cross the lake by boat. However, before he left, a couple men approached Jesus. The first, a teacher of the law, was an important leader in the Jewish community. And as such, he had a pretty comfortable lifestyle, and he had the respect of the community. This is the kind of man you would want to cultivate in order to add prestige to your work. He says he wants to follow Jesus, which would normally get us all excited. You know, preachers dream of such things. An influential person in the community coming to church, saying he wants to be a part of this church. That's exciting stuff. But Jesus' response to the man seems to be so strange. Notice Jesus neither encourages the man's coming, nor does he tell him not to. He simply lays out the facts for him. Follow Jesus. This teacher of the law will have to give up all the luxuries and comforts he has known. He will be kicked out of the synagogue if he follows Jesus, and he will lose all his privileges. And Jesus does not deny that, doesn't tell him that will be something else. Interestingly, the Bible never tells us how this teacher responded. Today, we try to make our commitment to Jesus as painless as possible, don't we? Show up when you can. Don't be too bad in what you do every day. Show up for church once in a while, and if you could give a little money now and then, that'd be nice. But that's not the invitation Jesus gives. He wants us to come to him on his terms, not ours. Maybe we have lost the power behind the words, but when we call Jesus Lord and Master, it means everything in our lives must revolve around him, not the other way around. How would you respond to a challenge like that? Jesus is not telling us that we cannot have a home or roots or good things, but he is telling us that nothing else can come between us and God. What is it that keeps you from completely submitting to Jesus today? Well, another man came to Jesus at the same time. Matthew says he was one of his disciples. Now, a disciple simply means a student. So this was not necessarily one of the apostles or one that was actually very close to Jesus, but just someone who had indicated his desire to learn more about the Master and had been listening to Jesus' teaching. Maybe he had heard the Sermon on the Mount. Maybe he had seen some of the miracles. And now he comes to Jesus with a question. This man's request seems fair enough. He wanted to bury his father. Some suggest that the problem here was that the man's father had not died yet. In other words, this man was saying, I'll follow you later, but right now I'm too busy. I used to say that all the time when I was young. I'll serve you, God, after I grow up, after I get a little older. Now, the Old Testament law clearly says we are to honor our parents. And specific Hebrew law said, one way we honor our parents is to provide a proper burial for them. The problem here does not seem to be taking care of your family as much as what is your top priority in life. The man still should take care of his father and should still make sure he had a good burial. But that was not the problem. The problem was what's most important in your life. No matter what we do, we can always find something good to take us away from something better. Let me take care of my parents first. Let me raise my children first. Let me finish my job first. Let me retire first. All those are good and noble tasks. But do we sometimes use those things as excuses? Jesus is not telling us to forget or ignore our family obligations, but He's telling us not to hide behind them. The price we pay to follow Jesus needs to be complete and total. Total submission to Him above any and everything else in our lives. There is no such thing as a part-time disciple of Jesus or a Sunday-only Christian. Following Christ is a full-time job demanding our top priority. There's a cost to pay. There's another cost to follow Jesus, and that cost is learning how to trust. Learning how to trust, beginning in verse 23 in Matthew chapter 8. Then He got into the boat, and His disciples followed Him. Without warning, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke Him, saying, Lord, save us, we're going to drown. He replied, You of little faith, why are you so afraid? Then He got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey Him. My mom said that when I was little, I would get mad whenever she or anyone else would try to help me do something. I would say, No, Mommy, I'll do it myself. In a very real sense, we as Americans are very much that way, aren't we? We have an independent nature and a pull yourself up by your own bootstraps mentality. Have you ever played that game where people stand behind you and you're to fall backwards and let them catch you? I could never play that game. I could never do it. I always thought, well, what if they missed? What if they can't hold me? What if they don't like me and want to see me fall? Well, we carry that attitude with us to church as well, don't we? We believe cliches like pray as if everything depended upon God, but work as if everything depended upon you. Now, I believe the first part, but if we're then going to do all the work ourselves, why should God be bothered to get involved? Now, this does not mean that we're to sit passively by waiting for God's will to be done, to be revealed to us, but it does mean we are to trust Him, and trusting Him is sometimes a very difficult thing to do. Sometimes life doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it seems as if everything is falling apart. Sometimes it feels as if the storms of life will overwhelm us. Through it all, Jesus is calling for us to trust Him. The word boat that Matthew uses here can mean any number of sea craft, but probably referring here to a fishing boat large enough for Jesus and at least the 12 apostles. The lake is Galilee, and it's some 600 feet below sea level, which means winds often blow down upon the lake, causing horrible storms, often very quickly. And since many of the apostles were fishermen on this very lake, they were probably used to these sudden squalls. The fact that they became scared here suggests that this was an especially nasty storm. Yet Jesus was sleeping through all this violent weather. Some suggest the apostles did not really expect Jesus to do anything about the weather, but they just wanted Him to know how miserable and scared they were. They may have even wondered How in the world can he sleep through all this? Have you ever done that? Have you ever woken your spouse up in the middle of the night just to let her know you can't sleep? Here's the problem we often face. Faith drives out fear, but fear drives out faith. In a theoretical sense, we say we trust Jesus. We have even seen in the past how he has done wonderful things. But now this new problem really seems to be overwhelming us. And while we are struggling, it's as if Jesus is taking a nap. Calming the winds and the waves is no big deal for Jesus. He simply says, stop. And they do. The sudden and complete nature of this miracle stunned the apostles. Sure, they wanted to stop the storm, and sure, they believed he could do it, but no one expected it to happen so quickly and so completely. This miracle goes beyond a magic trick or some kind of mass hypnosis. The question they asked was actually rhetorical. They asked, what kind of man is this? The answer is obvious. He's the Son of God. And trusting that answer is the price you must pay to follow Jesus. You see, Jesus can be dealt with on our terms if he was just a good teacher, or if he was just an important prophet. However, if he is the Son of God, one who can control the very elements of nature, then everything changes. The trouble comes with our willingness to trust him. Can you trust him with everything in your life? Will you trust him not only when things are going well, but when they fall apart? It's popular to say Jesus answers prayers in one of three ways: yes, no, or wait. But I think giving those three options misses the whole point of prayer. And it's actually kind of silly when you think about it. Because think about it a moment. Those three responses, yes, no, or wait, cover all the bases regardless of what happens. What other options are there? We will either give what we ask for, or we won't give what we ask for, or we'll give what we ask for later. That's just the way it is. So saying God answers prayer in three ways could actually be a lack of trust, because one of those three things are guaranteed to happen no matter what. See, actually, when we pray, God is asking us one question: do you trust me? Do you trust me? Trust is the price we pay to follow him. Well, finally, the cost we pay to follow Jesus includes misunderstandings. Beginning of verse 28 of Matthew chapter 8. When he arrived at the other side of the region of Gergeses, two demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. What do you want with us, Son of God? They shouted. Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time? Some distance from them, a large herd of pigs were feeding. The demons begged Jesus, if you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs. He said to them, go. So they came out and went into the pigs. And the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the water. Those tending the pigs ran off, went into the town, and reported all this, including what had happened to the demon-possessed man. Then the whole town went out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave the region. There's a lot of interesting suggestions and hints of things in this section of Scripture. Mark and Luke tell us the man in this story called himself Legion because there were many demons living in him. And they also describe his great strength. Matthew tells us there were actually two men possessed here, but they all agree the only place this person could live was in the graveyard because he was so out of control. So he had to live somewhere where no one was at, and he did not bother to find. Seeing clearer than many good people, this demon-possessed man knew exactly who Jesus was. His question about being tortured before before the appointed time suggests that the devil knows his end is sure. They ask to be cast into a herd of pigs, which is a strange request, but stranger still is Jesus granting their request. See, assuming the demons knew what the pigs would do when they entered them, that they'd run off the cliff, their motivation seems to be to try to destroy God's creation and to get Jesus in trouble, which is exactly what happened. You see, Jesus understood all of those things would happen because these people were raising pigs. That was their income, and he was going to destroy it all. They preferred pigs to people, swine to the Savior. And because of their faulty priorities, they misunderstood who Jesus was. They saw him only as a man who destroyed the prophets, not as the Son of God. Ironic, isn't it? The demon-possessed man knew immediately who Jesus was, but the good people of the town only saw someone who hurt their business. And know what the people's business was. They were raising pigs, which were considered unclean animals under Jewish law. Obviously, there was big money to make from raising pigs, so they kind of ignore what Scripture said. Do we ever do the same thing? We twist or avoid Scripture, which might hinder our lifestyle or could keep us from doing what we want to do. Whenever we try to shape Christianity into our image, we will not clearly see Jesus and misunderstand who he is and what he wants from us. Without a doubt, if Jesus was misunderstood, then the price we must pay is to be misunderstood as well. And that's a very hard lesson to learn, because we all want to be understood. However, there are those that will not understand our motives, no matter what we do. They will mistrust our actions, no matter what we do. And they will not give us the benefit of the doubt, no matter what we do. You would think the people of the town would be glad the man who had suffered so long was cured. But they could only see this guy. All they saw was the guy who was taking away their profits and making the pigs come off with them. How do you see Jesus today? Is he Lord of your life? Or is he an old stodge keeping you from having fun? Is he your Savior? Or does he restrict you from it? Does his grace cover you with love? Or do you cower in fear at what he might do? Because the following Jesus includes submission to him, learning to trust him, and